Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people who do amazing things. And today I'm my friend, awesome director, photographer, just really awesome human being, Tobi Martin Flemming. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, so the world is gonna see this thing we spend at least 14, give or take 15 months making.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Let's start with that.
I'm really nervous about it.
Why?
Honestly, it's maybe nervous isn't the right word. I have butterflies in my stomach, which I guess is nerves, but just sort of, it's been sort of like this private little cocooned thing that is just ours. And nobody could really judge from outside. And that felt nice and safe and cozy. And now it's going to be kind of born out there into the world, and everyone will get to have their say. And, not like it's, everyone on the planet's going to see it or anything, but just, so that kind of safety of not worrying about what anybody thought of it is kind of gone now. So there's a little kind of like, oh, now people are going to see it. And
you know what? I mean, we've seen the film a few times.
Yeah.
And I think people will love it. I mean, I'm that's not me being subjective. I'm being actually objective. Like watching it from, I didn't have a hand in this thing. How would I feel about it? I think people will love it. So that leads me to talk of the process, right? Your sister reaches out to you and says, "This thing is happening." How do you recall that? Was it a call? Was it in person?
When she first talked to me about doing Film 5?
Yeah.
So I don't remember how, the exact conversation, but I remember her calling me and, talking about how she had spoken to you and kind of put out there that maybe I could direct it. And she was like, "What do you think?" I think it was something like that. And I think I was just like, hell yeah, yes, I would love to do that, and immediately then was kind of like, will they let me do that? Is that going to be allowed? Is it going to be okay? I started questioning the whole thing, not from my perspective. My heart was like, yes, 100%. So it was kind of an exciting moment and still so far off in the future that it was like, will this thing ever come to be? But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, leads me to going back in time a bit. Nikki always said as growing up as sister's story or something you shared. What's your own experience of that?
The thing that kind of sticks with me, and I think we have some home videos of it still. They're on VHS, so God knows if they have crumbled to dust yet. But I still think of, Nikki writing stories that I would act out in the garage, putting costumes on or stuff like that. And kind of, and I don't know if we only did that a few times, but, we were the kids that would get up, and Nikki and I and my brother, we would dance and perform after dinner, and kind of I would do newscasts of myself with the home video camera, but when I think of our experience, I think of, that time of acting out Nikki's stories in the garage, and kind of, I think I was really young. I might have been 6 or 7 or something like that. But I still kind of have that vague recollection of doing that together. And that's when we were, really, really young kids. But when we got older, and we were both kind of in university, and it was sort of this constant conversation and sort of belief in this someday place where we would be able to make films together, and using Nikki's stories and my vision for what they look like. And so it's kind of been woven through our relationship together in one way or another our whole lives.
And then I remember Nikki said, so you've had this history of she writes, and you kind of see it when you read her stories, her novels and stuff. What was the experience of visualizing these things your sister wrote?
Maybe everybody feels this way, but for me it was just, they're so clear in my mind, and exactly how they should look and how they would be and how they would feel. And I also like kind of trying out certain scenes in different ways. What if I did it this way? What if I did it that way? And so I think when I read her stories, I automatically sort of envision ways that I could bring them to life, and sort of play around with different ways I could do that. And they just, to me, it's just so clear. I don't know. Maybe that's too simple of an answer.
You see it on the screen already.
The whole film plays out in my mind as I read through.
Yeah, I know. I
guess everyone does that.
Her scripts read amazing, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, well, I knew we were gonna get in. I knew it, right? And I shouldn't be that cocky, but
your certainty was very comforting.
Honestly, I was just so sure.
I just think because it was my first time doing a Film 5 and my first time going through this kind of experience, it was all a little bit like, I didn't want to get too attached to it. I didn't want to get my hopes up. So I thought if I get my hopes up, I'll just be so devastated if it doesn't happen. So I kind of left all the certainty to you, and I just kind of kept sitting back like, okay, I'm not going to get too, attached to this thing. And then so when it actually happened, I think I was a little bit in shock. I think still I'm a little bit like, oh my God, did we actually do all that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Okay, so we got into the program. How was Film 5, like the whole phase 1 and 2 for you?
I really enjoyed the whole thing. I think I wasn't sure what it was going to feel like to kind of be with the other teams, whether it would feel like a competition. It never felt that way to me. I don't know if it's because they kind of changed up the Film 5 program this last year and there was no... the phase 1 was different. There used to be sort of a competitive nature to it, and I've never been through the program that way, so I don't know if it even felt that way to the people in it. But for us, I just felt like we were all in it together. And that was really, really nice. It was a great way to go through the program. I don't even know. I keep thinking it must be, I wonder if this program was in Toronto or Vancouver or some other place, would it feel the same? Like, is it our community here that is so supportive? And
I've never thought of that, actually.
And from what I understand, not a lot of places have programs like Film 5 where they consider it a developmental program. So I don't think that exists everywhere, and I've never done the research to know it, but I've heard people say things like that. So I also think that I've come to see that our community here is really supportive of that program, and they don't make it this other thing where it's just like, a student film you make in grade 8. It's like, it's a full-fledged professional film that you're making. So anyway, I loved that.
Yeah, no, okay, so we got in, did the tweaks, and then, okay, we got everything all set. Let's actually talk about the production itself. But actually, sorry, let's talk about the pre-production. So we had our actors, we had a location, we had a crew,
we had everything,
and then we lost everything.
And we lost it all. It's all gone.
How did you feel when
How did I feel when that happened?
Yeah. Because we'd gone to the site and you'd seen the park that we wanted to use, and you saw.
So everything in my mind was envisioned around those people, those places, those, everything was already there. Like the film already existed in my head. Their faces were on those characters. Those locations were where they were. All the story was going to play out. So I think a couple things happened. One is you, as the producer, you didn't come to me and lay this big devastating problem at my feet and kind of say, and then let me freak out. You came to me, which I thought was amazing, which was, okay, we have a problem. Here's what it is. And I've already got some solutions. And for me, I thought that was amazing. So for you as the producer to kind of put a few things in place before you came to me and said, okay, here's what's wrong. Here's how we're going to fix it. Here's what we're doing. So that made it way easier to deal with. On top of that, I knew that I could kind of panic away or we could just get stuff done. And I was like, let's just get stuff done. I can panic with the best of them, but I was like, that's not going to get us anywhere, and that's not what's going to make this film or make it great or help us move forward or work together well or any of those things. So I just chose the mindset that I wanted when all of that stuff fell apart, because I just felt like it was the right thing to do. So I don't know.
So, we, because we already had our actors, we skipped the casting.
Yes, we did.
And then we had to cast and get the actors. I think I was like, we have to have the thing by. It was like just a quick
It was
turnover.
a very short period of time.
Yeah, I know. That was pressure I put on you because you had to decide who you wanted.
Yeah.
And then I sent these people. How did you notice like who to pick? I guess.
So a couple things happened with Micah. I think we found Micah through a connection of Nikki's. And it was actually, and so she sent in her tape to you. But there was something just, as soon as I saw her as Eden, I was like, that's Eden. With Sam, I know that you and I had different opinions of who it should be. And I had a moment where I was like, oh, I should just do what Israel says. But I was like, no. Sam did something in his tape. And I'm trying to remember, there was a look on his face in between one of the lines he delivered. And it struck me, like looking at his face, there was something that he did that I was like, I want to see that in the film. That's the thing. And no one else did it. And everybody was wonderful. But Sam's the one, there was just that moment in the look in his eyes that I was like, I want to capture that. He can do that. Or if I ask him for that, he'll give that to me.
Yeah.
And so there was just, that's when I have to fight for Sam.
No, it was
Sam is Jack.
Like
so.
once you made your mind up, like I was like, okay, I had to trust that you knew what you were going to make because you knew what you saw. So I was like, okay, fine, we're just going to go with Jack. Let's just get this thing happening. Okay.
Thanks for letting me have my way.
No. Of course. So I was like, great, we have everything. Moved everything around. But then you had a day, well, not a day, but like some hours with a DP, Paul McCarty.
Yeah.
Just, being in these spaces where the characters were going to be in and all that stuff. How was that experience for you?
I felt like that made our actual shoot so much smoother. And I'm so grateful that Paul was like, you can have my time. I'm there. Like, let's do this. He wasn't... he didn't make us feel bad about that. He was like, I'm all in, like I'm here for you kind of thing, and I really appreciated that. So we got to go to every location.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Making that so much easier. We got to go to every location. We got to walk through all the different angles I wanted to shoot. I learned a lot from Paul in that day during the shoot about, why maybe something I was envisioning maybe wouldn't work well. Technically, and being able to have all those conversations or why it might work well technically for whatever reason, and being able to kind of really see that Paul was going to deliver on his promise around like supporting everyone, including me, and this is a learning opportunity, and being so supportive. Like I felt up until that day, I think I just wasn't sure how Paul and I would work together. And after that day, I was like, like, I am so relieved. Like, I just felt really secure.
Yeah. I remember that evening when Nicole's, placed the location for their home. And just you guys working in that space, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a great film. I was like, we didn't even, I did take some photos of that experience. I was like, okay, this is gonna be great. And I sound like I'm just, blowing gas up our film, but it is really good. And then, we show up on the day of. No camera.
No camera. For a while.
Yeah. How when we found out that was happening, what was going through your mind?
So I actually feel like that was like one of the calmest moments. Because once we got moving, everything was like, go. But I just thought it's going to work out. I think Nikki and I were kind of laughing about it because, she was kind of, what's okay to say, she was kind of panicking. And I was like, it's going to work out. It's going to be fine. Like something's going to happen, you know? And I was just like trying to be cool, calm, collected. And that again was sort of like, this is my choice to go at this way, because losing it is not going to, one, create great space for everyone else to be on set right now if I'm standing there losing my mind. And it didn't help me control anything to freak out. So I just thought, like, let's just figure this out. How are we going to solve this problem? And we were all kind of working together. Paul was standing there like, I've got a camera at home. If the camera doesn't show up, I'll go get it. And I was like, great, you know, and then we'll move forward. Nicole's there to kind of manage our time and make that happen. Hey? Oh my goodness. Thank God for Nicole.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, she's going to find a way to help us get this all done, you know, and I think we ended up finishing early that day.
Yes.
Even though we started like an hour and a half, or I don't know if it was 2 hours.
We lost 3 hours.
Was it 3 hours?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, you know. So my whole thing was making sure nobody knew how bad things were. I was like,
it worked. So
I'm gonna just make sure everyone had coffee and like just keep feeding people.
Yeah.
But once the camera came, you're on the
we just got to work. It was like, we don't need to dwell on this because that's not going to help us get what we want today. Camera's here, let's go.
So let's talk about, you know, you'd been to the program. You actually rewind a bit. We'd made a film. We had to make a film.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We had to make a film to show that, well, I can make a film, you know, because as at then you hadn't actually made a film. Like you photography is your thing. You see what you need in that frame, and I was like, okay, listen, this is the only thing we don't have for the application, and you and your sister. She's going to write this thing. It's going to be a yoga thing. Go shoot it. How was that? Because, like,
I hated it.
What? I love it.
No. It's not the final thing. I hate it. I hated the process of doing that.
Oh, why?
So, to be frank, I've never shot film on my camera.
Oh.
Like, I use my Canon 60D. I shoot photography, but I'd never used it for film. So I was like, I have to figure that out.
Right.
I didn't like doing it. That's what I have a Paul for, right? And all of those beautiful, wonderful people who know what they're doing with film. And so it was really uncomfortable because I was like, I don't use my camera this way, you know, and for things that are moving in front of me and like in a different way. And, you know, what I thought that I would set up a shot and I'd see it in my mind or I'd play with it. And then it wouldn't turn out the way I kind of had envisioned. Or it was challenging. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it also kind of helped me be really comfortable in the role that I want, that I love, that I'm in. Because, you know, it was an experience to show me that or to help me with that too. So, I mean, I think also challenging ourselves with stuff like that is great. And it, you know, we learn a lot with that, but I definitely was like, this is painful.
I love the film. And honestly, like, you know, we had all the pieces, but it was the last piece we needed to get in. So obviously worked. But till then, that had been like the first thing. But now you're in this machine with 30 people, everything moving around and 3 people here and you had a screen. Like, how was that for you?
Like on set, it was amazing. I loved every minute of it.
I was like every, you know, so talk me through it.
I think I thought beforehand that I was really going to enjoy it. And actually in it, I was like in heaven. I loved everything, all of it, just the whole process. The way, like working that way and that creative mindset with people, collaborating with everyone. I often, as I do just in my life, would just step back for a minute here and there and just like really look around, because you're so engrossed in everything and you become part of it. But then I like to kind of step out of it for a minute and just actually appreciate it. And when I did those things, just what I saw was just like so lovely, and seeing how people were working together and how everyone was really here working and trying and so hard to like make it all wonderful, bring our vision to life, and also put their own stamp on that. And so it just was amazing. And like when I got home after the first day, the longest day, like this really, really long day, my husband was like, "You are glowing. I've never seen you look like this after a long day of work and, for years." And I was like, "Yeah, I just feel so good." Like it just felt right.
Yeah, it was a super long day one though.
But it was wonderful. I loved everything.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you loved everything, but could you speak to some specifics you loved?
I think I really, like some of the stuff I really enjoy is kind of coming up with ideas on how to do stuff. So even if it's just like, oh, we know we're going to shoot from over here. And then like for me, it's like looking at something from a different angle and then saying, "Hey, Paul, what do you think? Can we try this? What do you think of this?" And looking around and moving around. And what happens if we try this? What happens if we try that? Kind of on the spot, throwing out ideas and coming up with stuff that I just like that feeling of sort of kind of just being in that moment and throwing things around and creating something.
Okay, I have two specific questions about D1. How did you know the walk, so the walk away? Because she did a few of those walks. Like, how did you know that was the right one? Because, she's just walking, right?
At the very end?
No, when she walks and then pauses, yeah.
So you mean instead of like where I wanted to shoot it from?
No. We'll get to that one. That's my second one.
Okay.
but I mean, like just the actual shot we used with her walking away.
Yeah. So some of it was even just like where they were positioned with each other in the frame, because there was a couple of times where like Sam was too, like almost covering her too much in the frame. So there was some of that more just from like where we could see them. There was also something, I think that just like for me, when I'm watching the different takes, something feels right about one or right about another one. Sometimes it's just like something's right at the beginning and wrong at the end. But there was also, at the end of that shot, she actually, like when we filmed it, I had her stop, wait, and then continue to go. But I just kind of cut it off right there. So it was like, we don't actually really know.
Yeah.
Are they coming back together or is she actually walking away from him? And so in that particular shot, it was like, I'll be able to kind of make that happen. So we don't actually know exactly where she's going, what happens next.
Okay. Yeah. And then of course, so we're going through the program, you had the shots in your mind.
Yeah.
You knew you needed this shot. And we, kind of envisioned this shot, set up for it, and like, nope.
Yeah, instantly I was like, I hate it. Let's go.
Yeah. How are you so sure? Like, I mean, I know I was like, let's just get it, but
yeah,
you were right. Is what I'm trying to say. But how do you like get to that point where you're like, it's not happening.
It's not working. So I wanted to kind of shoot them from the side and have this sort of, and I'd said it forever, this really big, expansive shot where we see them kind of thrown apart. I think I even said, can we shoot it with a wide angle lens, like really make it look, I had this really like thing in my mind. I think a couple things happened. One is the location we ended up using ended up being a little bit different than what I had, that my vision was with all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that had a big impact on it. But I still wanted to try it. I still thought it'll work based on where we are now. And so I kind of, had Paul come over, set it all up, do all this. And I wanted it to feel a certain way. And I knew like the vision, the image in my mind, it's going to feel like whatever that feeling was that I was feeling or envisioning. And as soon as we set it up and I looked at it, I was like, nope, it's not here. That feeling, it's not in this shot. Yeah. And I was just like, let's just move on because again, we're wasting time, so I didn't want to waste time with it. And I just immediately was like, forget it. Let's just not do it. And then we shot it just to have it in case, like I think once. But it was it was just, I could tell by looking at it. And that's, I think, when I take pictures, whatever it is I'm feeling or looking for in that frame, as soon as I looked at it, I was like, it's not here. Let's not spend time on this.
Okay, and then we went into the art studio. You spent time there. How was shooting in art space for you?
It was really nice. I liked how intimate it felt there. And there was always kind of the feeling in the film that I wanted it to all feel intimate and close and connected and magnetic. And these were a lot of the words that were always coming to mind for me. And I think even the way Nikki wrote the film, which she's talked about, is they're very isolated from the outside world. We don't see, we can guess all of this impact that happens that impacts their relationship, but we don't see any of that. And so that space too was very kind of intimate, tight, closed in, warm, and kind of dark. And just so I really like that. It felt exactly right for that scene.
Yeah. Okay, so you had all this glowing happening at the set. Turn it over to Sean Beckwith, our awesome editor. How was the editing process for you?
I actually really liked the editing process. I didn't think I was going to. Right? But I think what helped me again was that Sean is an expert in what he does. So what had me stressed about it was all of the technical pieces around the way the files all live in this system that I don't know how to use. But he is the expert at that stuff. So I didn't have to worry about that. But sitting with Sean and having conversations about why this take works, why this one doesn't, how we can mix things together, how if we draw this out, the feeling that we might be able to kind of dig into a bit more and all that. I love having conversations like that. So it was still all wrapped up in that for me. I didn't have to really worry about the technical side of editing. I think if I had to do that, I would have been really unhappy. But, being able to rely on Sean for that was amazing. And he was so easy to work with and talk to about all that stuff. And he got it, so.
Okay, so, did all that. Now we have this film. How do you feel about it?
The film was really hard for me to let go of. So, like, even in editing it, it was like, okay, Tobi, you got to stop. Like, you can't make any more changes because I can't sit with this film for like 5 years. Yeah. So I'm really happy with the film. I love it. I think what we created as a team is a beautiful film. And I think it's going to kind of have its life out in the world and it's going to be great. And I also have that little bit of like, now that, because I always find that if I create something, if I go back and look at it like 6 months later, I'll be like, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd noticed that little, And so in that sense, from I think the sort of post work perspective, I think I could forever go back and say, oh, I wish I'd made that a little longer. I wish I'd made that a little shorter. Or I wish I'd, but we also have a limited amount of time in a short film. And so there were things that we had to let go of to kind of, so do I think the film is amazing? I do. I love it. And it will always be our kind of passion project first thing that we made. And this, what I think is a beautiful thing that we made. And will I always be able to go back and say, oh, I could have, I wish I'd known that before I'd chosen to shoot that from that angle. But can't we all do that? With things that we create, right? Oh, I could have, so. Yeah. Okay. So, A Walk in the Sun is done. You're not going to go back and touch anything. I'm not going to touch it again.
It's done and we're showing to the world. And, first off, thanks for trusting me and going through this process.
Likewise. Thank you for trusting me.
No, I mean, once Nikki was pretty sure that because I always encourage people to kind of direct what they write, but Nikki was so sure that you were the right person, and like she's correct because the film is beautiful. You know how you read the script, is like, okay, I get it, but then you see it and it sinks its teeth into you and just holds in there. And I feel like I've seen it a lot of times, but I feel people when they see it on the screen and on the big screen, it's gonna be an experience, right?
Yeah.
And I already knew that when I met your sister shrinking, that I was gonna make her expand it again.
Yeah.
And so she's going through this process of expanding it. What do you think of this the space between?
I love it. I love the characters. I love stories where all of the characters are people that I want to hang out with, people that I wish I knew. And Nikki is able to write characters like that I'm like, oh, I wish I had that friend, or I wish I knew that person, or, you know, people that I want to read it again because I want to go back and spend time with those characters. And so I love that about the characters that she's written and the friends that are in the lives of the main characters in the story. And I'm really excited to kind of see how it comes to life. I think it's, as I was kind of reading it too and envisioning it all, I was kind of imagining ways in which it could be similar to A Walk in the Sun, but also ways in which we could try things differently. How I would try and have an actor play a line differently just to pull on a different thing, you know, or a different emotion or something like that. So I think it'll be really fun to play with.
You know, I'm kind of giggling inside because I was gonna say, so you're gonna direct it, right? And you're like, oh, I was already thinking of the thing. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's taken care of.
Well, I guess you never know. Someone else could walk along who gets to direct it. But if I get asked to direct it,
there's no two ways about it. It's like, you know how, what is that to like get the band together?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see it happening. Like pretty much everyone that did that thing.
Yeah.
Like, how about a production designer?
Angela?
Yep.
Angela was amazing.
I mean, that studio.
The work that she did, I mean, and I think my mind was a little bit blown because even on our short film, the details that she was concerned with and her team was concerned with, I just was like, my mind was a little bit blown by that. The amount of work and thought and just caring that they put into all of that. I was also kind of really touched by that because you don't expect everyone to show up and care about your film the way you care about it.
Right, because, you know, it's your thing.
And so seeing everyone show up and care so much about their, like, doing their job so well was really, like, that kind of struck a little bit of like a good nerve for me because I was, you know, I was moved by that. So I thought she was wonderful. I thought her team was wonderful. And it was such a lovely thing to see them taking such good care with everything. Everything was exactly right. And if we had to go back and do something, they were, you know, right on everything. And the amount of thoughtfulness they put into the characters and the things they brought forward for those characters to bring their worlds to life was really amazing.
No, I think so. And, you know, this had always been my master plan. It's like we have this thing now and we can show anyone and say, oh, you like that one? Well, we have a bigger one. So it's easier to kind of get the funding to make the bigger one and get everybody to come along because everyone had this hopefully good experience on the little baby, and now we just want to make the bigger sister of this film. Yeah,
and like there was, for me, I felt that in the atmosphere on our set. It was just everybody was having a good time. Everybody was getting along, was just there for each other, was supporting each other. Our mentors were encouraging, educating, like lifting up the people around them, helping develop and learn and teach and guide and all that wonderful stuff. I mean, it was just a really nice environment to be in to make a film. I wouldn't want it any other way.
That's how I'm saying. Plus now, so it's like we had 2 days. So looking at that script, we might, you know, look at, you know, 15 to 16 days to make that the space between. But I think we have all the pieces in place, and then it's just about getting the journey from, oh, you love the walk in the sun. Well, you're gonna, get into the groove for the space between.
Yeah.
And I think we set out to do that. I'm happy with the film we've made, and I can't wait to see what you put on the screen. Because you know the other thing, I'm like, whatever, but you're so deliberate, and I'm learning to be more deliberate. Because when we made it, like I've gone through the raw files, and every shot was great. I know, like there were things, maybe the line wasn't said right or something was off, but every shot was great. And I think it's the work that you and Paul put into that. And of course everyone around, but just the two of you and your partnership is like, yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can be deliberate. It's fine.
Thank you.
No,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And, the work and the passion you put into it, I can't wait to jump and make the next one.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be bigger too. So even more time. Like, I like set, but I don't think I've met anyone that liked it as much as you did. Because you had on your...
I thought it was great.
That freaking monitor is heavy.
Yeah, but I had that strap, thank goodness, around my neck.
I'm like, you had the monitor on, and you were like, on. I'm like, no. So clearly, you love directing.
And I like being able to move around with it. Like, I didn't want to have to stand at the monitor in the back. Like, I like being able to move, take it with me, and just connect with everybody that way.
So the other thing is, you had rehearsals with the actor, you had the moment, you had talking with the intimacy coordinator. How was that, like the discussion with the intimacy coordinator and the actors? How was that for you?
I really loved having Samantha as our intimacy coordinator. I know it's kind of a little bit new to the film industry from what I understand, but I liked that, I don't really necessarily think of myself as a powerful person, but I guess I'm in a position of power as the director. And I really appreciated that our actors had an opportunity to connect with someone else other than me, to talk about the things that they were comfortable with or not comfortable with and all that kind of thing, so that they could actually do that without feeling like they couldn't say it to me in some way. And I also worked really, really hard to... I wanted them to feel safe about that. Like, you can tell me that you don't like this, and that's okay. Like, I'm happy to re-envision something so that you can actually bring your full performance to the thing you're doing. Because that's what I want. I want to see that, but I want, if you're feeling discomfort with it, then that might show up. So I thought that was amazing to have Samantha with us. She was wonderful. And I would work with her again in a heartbeat. And actually, it's funny because in the full feature film, I was like, is she the mother? I thought of Samantha. I was like, maybe she's the mother. And she'll come back and work with us. Anyway.
So talking of casting, we don't need to recast, right? Eden and Jack.
Well, and I guess that depends on people's availability and, what they would like to do. But I think from our perspective, we loved Micah and Sam as Jack and Eden.
Oh, wow. Man, this has been amazing. I'm going to let you go with this question, though.
Okay.
It's not going to be one of those. It's a simple one. Creating is something you enjoy doing. So there might be someone out there watching and it's something they want to do. What would you say to that person?
I think it's just, the first thing coming to my mind is kind of about, like, just doing stuff even if you're afraid, or if you feel like someone else might think you shouldn't be. I've had a lot of those feelings in going through this process and still. And I'm just still so grateful that I did it anyway, and that I found people who would be okay with that and who would just, like, be in my corner and have my back. So I think finding those people and just, like, going for it is really important, and trying really hard. I'm still working on it, to put kind of those things aside and just keep going. Yeah.
Wow. Tobi, it's been amazing. I can't wait to get on the next thing.
Me too.
Thanks for coming to the Blackout today.
Thank you for having me, Israel.